Hi everyone, today I'm going to do another little demonstration composing with secondary dominants. So I'll need to explain just what that is. And if your interest in theory is that you need to work with modulations in say 5th or 6th grade theory, this will still really help you. And sometimes it's a good way to apply theory by learning to compose with it. And that just helps you apply everything from the ground up. So that can be a real practical lesson. So I'm going to maybe compose a few lines of a piano piece. I might go for a piano piece today. And we'll see if we can show you how to use secondary dominants. Now, first of all, so before we begin, we need to lay the groundwork for what a secondary dominant is. So let's write out all the chords in the key, and I'm going to sort of leave some room here. So you'll see very clearly what a secondary dominant is in a sec as I demonstrate this. A secondary dominant is the dominant of a chord within the key, basically. So you move to any chord within the key, and you can do so via that chord's dominant. So let's write out all the dominant sevenths. We're going to add sevenths to it. Now the tonic chord, so that won't necessarily be a, whoops, wrong little note there. So G7. Let's just label these. So labeling the function, you can see we've got all the chords in the key here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out all the dominants of each of those chords. So G7 going to C. Then we've got D minor here. We can just label all of these and you can see where we're heading. It's so important to lay the groundwork first and look at what possibilities there are in a key, and then you can very easily then adapt your chord progression to include some of these tricks. Right, we now move to chord 2, which is D minor. So what is the dominant of D minor? And the answer is A, the chord of A, and of course we need a C sharp here. So we work this out as though we were in the key of D minor. So note this very carefully. D minor, if we were in the key of D minor, typically with the dominant chord, we would raise the 7th note of the key, which would mean we would have a C sharp. So that's why I have a C sharp here. So I'm writing literally the dominant of D minor. So D minor is both a key within its own right and it is chord 2 of C major, both those things. And so all I'm doing here, I'll add the 7th as well. So dominant chord, you can add the 7th and get a dominant 7th chord. And it just enhances the resolution because there's a tritone between the 3rd of this dominant chord and the 7th of the dominant chord. That applies to every dominant 7th chord. All right, and typically we want the leading note of the scale, this C sharp, leading note of D minor, would rise to the D, and the G, being the chordal 7th of A7, would fall to the F, which is the 3rd of D minor chord. All right, enough of my theoretical rambling. I may risk putting you all to sleep. So anyway, I'll move on. Dominant of E minor. So again, I'm thinking in the key of, whoops, we need an F sharp there. I'm thinking in the key of E minor now. So I'm going all the way into the key of E minor, and you need to know the key signature of E minor and all of its characteristics. Here you see I've raised the 7th note of E minor scale, which is the D sharp. So you can see you have to work that way. F major. What is the dominant of F major? Well, that's actually the tonic chord of this key, but I'm going to enhance this by adding a 7th, dominant 7th, and of course in F major we have a B flat. So when we write the dominant chord of F major, again, pointing out we're working in the key of F major at this point. F here, the chord of F major, is the fourth chord of C major, the original key, but F major works as a key in its own right, and in the key of F major, it has a B flat in the key signature. All right, so I'm just trying to make you see both perspectives. All right, let's label that. That's C7. Oops, I didn't add a seventh there. So that's B7. Okay, now dominant of G. That's an easy one. That's going to be D. It'll be F sharp because G major key has an F sharp in it. And then we're going to add the chordal seventh here, and that'll give us D7. Right, so I'm doing all my pre-work here, and then that helps us when we're trying to write a chord progression. There we go. Now, of course, we could enhance. You've seen me do this. Oh, maybe we won't worry about that yet. Maybe I'm getting carried away. There's your theory. All right, so that shows you what are the possibilities of tonicizing. So secondary dominance is the trick of tonicizing a chord within the key. All right, so we've got all these words. Let me write that word. That's an important word there. Tonicization. That's kind of what we're doing. I have other YouTube episodes on this, so if you want more info on tonicizing, there's another video on that. I might put that at the end, put a link to that at the end. Okay, so here's our theory. So now I'm going to start composing, and I'm going to start with chord progression first. Now, one of the things that's going to come up here is harmonic rhythm. What is harmonic rhythm? Well, that's the rhythm of the chords or the duration of the chords. So we could have a chord last for the whole bar, or we could have a chord last for just half a bar. I mean, you could have a chord on every beat. You can do whatever you like. Composing is free. Composing means you can do whatever you like. But let's keep it simple so that people can understand how they can embrace these concepts without getting too complicated. I'm a little theory here. Sorry, I'm diving around here. 5/7/1. I might label these because it might help you. 5/7/2. It might help you understand the concept of this a bit better. That's 5/7/3. All right, that's 5/7/4. So it just helps you appreciate the function of the chords of what we're doing, that you have sort of a full functional analysis. A functional analysis, chordal analysis, is to identify the position of a chord in the key. That's what it means. Is it chord 1, chord 2, chord 3, chord 4? So that's kind of what we're doing. So 5/7/5, and then we have 5/7/6. All right, so that just completes the theory. I'm all over the place today. All right, so we want to compose. Now, what we could do, I could start off, maybe I might start off in chord 6. All right, and then I could go to chord 2 and chord 5 and chord 1. There's a lovely first phrase. So it's cool to start on chord 6, by the way. Chord 6 is a substitute for chord 1, right? So they are related to each other. A minor is the relative minor of C major, so they are connected, right? So maybe I might start here with A minor. Of course, it'll sound like I'm therefore in the key of A minor, but that doesn't matter. The relative minor and the relative major interact with each other really seamlessly. So feel free to switch between the two. But anyway, I'm going to start on chord 6. And so let's show that. Just put this here for a sec. Chord 6, chord 2. Now that's actually using the cycle of fifths, which I was demonstrating last week. Now I didn't do that intentionally. It just kind of happened that way. But that's a nice start. Now, so there's a basic outline of what could be a phrase. And then what I'm going to do is you'll see I'm going to now add some secondary dominants to make this sound pretty cool. Now I'm wondering, should I maybe... I might explore the theory first before... I was going to try and write out a little piece just using those chords and then show you what the difference might be. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? Do you think I should do that first? Honestly, I can't hear you answering me. So I'm just going to maybe do it anyway. Right, let me compose a little piece using those chords. Right, so let's get this. So what I'm going to do, so when I'm writing for the piano, I'm just going to jump right in. I've got the chord of A minor. So I'm just going to come up with a little pattern. Might put a little step down in this accompaniment. So if we're going to make a nice little pretty piano piece, we need a little bit of a pattern. All right, so that's that one. Now, there, down to G. So I've tried to be a little bit creative here. Could I maybe add a little passing note? I don't know, that's going to cause me trouble a bit later on, but we'll try, see if we can get away with it. And the step there should be pretty harmless. All right, so I've got a little pattern, right? Following these chords, D minor, then going to G and C. All right, I've got a little step up. Goodness knows how I'm going to treat that when I write a melody. Now, to write a melody, as I've been showing, let's start with a skeleton first. Whoops, let me get my note. So we've got a C, and we want things to flow nicely. Now, with that third, the B being there, if I went to the melody, it's kind of getting in the way. So I might go to the F, which is the 7th, and you'll see what I might be able to do with that in a minute. And then let's just put an E there, right? So here we have pretty little piano piece. There we go. Cool. But boring it is. Now I'm going to redo it, except this time I'm going to add some secondary dominants. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this. This is, at the moment, this is all A minor. Well, I'm going to take this now and turn it into, I'm going to turn this into a secondary dominant. So what I've done now is I've now turned this chord. So all this bar was A minor. Now I've taken the second half of this bar and turned A minor into A7. Right, so this was A minor and this was D minor. But now what I've done is I've turned this chord here into the dominant of D minor, the one I'm moving to. Oh, look at this computer. Look at this. It is so confused. It's going, what on earth is that? It just doesn't understand. It's A7 / C sharp. You poor little computer. Look, I'll just put a sharp sign. Oh, that worked. I laugh at computers trying to understand what I'm doing, and they just get so confused. All right, so okay, so you can now hear the difference. All right, and I might slow this tempo down. Hang on a moment, because it's just moving by too quickly. And if I slowed this down a little bit, I think that might just crotchet equals. Let's see, 75. All right, let's move that around. Whoops, no, come up here. You can just sit there and just don't be bothersome. There we go. All right, and we could have done a pattern where I enhanced this one, but it's already the dominant of C. So I might have to try another trick. So if I come back to my original here, this was the original. Hang on, I'll just put the tempo up here so we can compare and contrast. Okay, so now becomes and I might just move that down so that we can see that G resolving, feel that G resolving down to the F there. I'll play that again. Okay, and of course we can melodically enhance this. So I'm going to put in a passing note. So you've seen me do that. All of this is relevant to 4-part harmony, by the way. If you're doing 4-part harmony that involves modulation, you can do all these tricks. You mightn't be doing it with a piano pattern. You'll be doing it in 4 voices, of course, but the principles are exactly the same. So now let me show you some embellishing tricks. My mind is hearing. Okay, I'll show you. I'm going to turn this into a triplet. And now I'm going to change that chord note. But there's a reason why I'm going to change that chord note, as you'll see. All right, so I've done really a cambiata, a melodic turn, or an enclosure, as the jazz community might say. This is going to start to sound a bit Chopin-esque if I keep going here. Okay, and that leads nicely on. So it's basically a melodic turn, and I was able to configure that resolving nicely. Now I'm going to take this chord and I'm going to turn that into the actual dominant of G. So we've got D minor going to G, but I'm going to turn this into D7, right? So so I really need a root note. So hang on, I need to redo the pattern. So it will sound a lot more convincing if I put that low note in. I'm using first inversion of these dominants, so that's why I've got the F sharp here in the bass voice. And I might end up changing this. Okay, so so you can see how much that changes it. And if I compare that, oops, hang on. So here's the original movement, and you can see that going to G, and then now we've got okay, and so this is now D7. What did the program just do then? Oh, okay, that was correct. Although it's really, I should say, it's really D7/F sharp. So put it there, it's a type of slash chord in contemporary language. All right, so now I think we can enhance this embellishing. Let me tell you, people, the art of composition is in the embellishing. And now I've matched, see how I've got the C there, and I've matched the A as being a sixth. Now, let's hear that. And I think we could turn that another little turn or enclosure approaching that B there. And now I'm just and another little turn. Here we go. And I think we have it. Here's our little piece today. Pretty cute. Okay, and I was deliberate about linking. You know how I was a bit worried about that passing note. Well, I've linked, so against that C, because that C is not a chord tone in G, I've linked an E, which is a third, and I've linked a D, which is a D to the B, which is a third. So that way, using thirds, sounds really nice. See, I didn't do it there. So much for trying to sound smart a second ago. Let's see what this happens. That might be better. So if I keep them in thirds, there you go. So you can see how nice that is when we've got these passing tones in the left hand. They're matched by the passing tones in the right hand, moving in thirds. Sounds really good. All right, so here it is overall. Here's our little offering today. There you go. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope that's given you some confidence that you could try that yourself. So see if you can compose some lines using secondary dominants. Go to it. I'll see you next week.